Hey guys, welcome back. The fly we're going to be tying today is what we call the Meals on Wheels. This is a mealworm imitation and a fantastic trout fly. The hook I have in the vise is a little bit different. This is an owner light circle hook in size 10. These things work really well for this purpose. Any worm patterns, give these things a try. And they're only a couple bucks for a bag, so they're nice and affordable. Got a great shape, a nice little offset. Light wire, so they're perfect for catch and release. Just crush the barb, you're good to go. I'm going to be using a UTZ 70 in black, and I'm just going to start at the front and dress my way back, and I'm going to come well down the bend of the hook here. I'm going to give it that nice worm shape. Trim off that tag end. And we're going back to one of my favorites. You've seen this in a lot of my patterns. I'm using some large Palmer chenille in brown. This is going to be the flashback on our pattern. You can see it's got that great flash in it. It's nice and transparent, translucent. Works great. I use this in all kinds of patterns, including caddis patterns. But once I'm done with the streamer, if I cut off a bunch of excess, I'll just set that aside for flies like this. And what I'm going to do, get a pretty generous little clump of it, about that much or so. And I'm just going to cut that off of the core, so that we just have those fibers. And I'm going to tie those in right back here at the rear, trying to keep them on top. Doesn't have to be right on top. There we go. Now I'm going to tie in some brassy. You can use brassy or small size gold ultra wire. Just capture that in, tie it in. Unlike some other worm patterns, you'll notice I'm not tying in any weight. I find that this works just fine without tying in additional weight. But now I'm going to come in with a small strip, maybe 1/8 inch wide or so, strip of chamois, natural collar. You can get large amounts of this in the auto section where you get car wash supplies. Great for this purpose, and also for chamois worms, which work fantastic. Now I'm going to take the chamois and I'm just going to wrap it up to the front. If you want, you can add some additional wraps of it in the middle there if you want it to have a little bit more of a rotund midsection. Generally don't worry about it. But I just capture that, tie it off, and then I'll snip out the excess there. And don't worry about building a big head on this. You actually want that. So don't think that you're getting too many thread wraps up there. The more the better. Now we're going to grab that Palmer chenille. What I like to do to make it a little more manageable is I like to pull it up and twist it. And then lay it right up across the top. And then capture it up here at the front. Okay, get some wraps over it and in front of it, and then I'll actually just fold it back, get a few wraps over it. I'm going to have to readjust here so my thread doesn't slip, but get some wraps in front, fold it back, wrap over it, and then snip off that excess. And again, that's going to give you that nice big pronounced black head like a mealworm has. And from here, just to prevent anything from going haywire, I'll throw in a whip finish. You can throw in a whip finish or a half hit. If you have any loose fibers, check now. Everything looks good. Now I'm just going to come in with that ultra wire and just rib all the way up. And if you have to, just kind of pinch and pull to keep that Palmer chenille up on the top. And advance that wire up to the front, capture it and tie it off. And I like to go ahead and just finish things off, get everything cleaned up, and then I'll whip finish. snip off my thread, and then helicopter that ultra wire right out of there. There we go. You can fish this as is, and it fishes just fine that way. Okay? You don't have to do anything else to it. I'm going to come in and put a top coat on it. You can use UV cement if you wish. You can use 2-part epoxy. I'm using the Aliens Fabric Fusion. You might have seen me use this in some of my other patterns. It's a lot like an epoxy. And it's cheaper to use on patterns like this that takes a lot than UV epoxy, and it's easier than 2-part epoxy, and it has no smell. So what I'll do is just come in and load this guy up with a generous amount of this, and you can use more than you think because this does shrink a little bit. That's the only difference between this and an epoxy, is it does shrink. So use a little more than you think you need to if you want to have a real glassy pattern, but this just makes this fly ridiculously tough and also soaks into everything and gives it that nice buggy kind of transparent look. But I just load that guy up, and this stuff levels itself pretty well, but if you need to come in and kind of redistribute anything, you can. And this stuff, it dries pretty quick. I'll usually spin it a few times in my vise and just let it set up a little bit. I'll spin it down, let it set there for a minute or two, and then once that's set for a while, I'll flip it up and let it set for a minute or two, and by that time it's dry enough to put in a set of hackle pliers or something and set aside to let it fully dry. But here's one I did earlier, and you can see the back's got that real nice little flash to it. Everything gets kind of transparent, and it's a great little mealworm imitation, and just a basic kind of grub imitation in trout. Love these things. Got plenty of flash, and you can catch a pile of fish off these things. They're super tough, and they float really nice in the water column. They sink well. They don't plummet to the bottom, so you can swing these things so well through rapids, and trout just blast them. It's a fantastic pattern, easy to tie. So tie some up, see what you think, and let us know. Please like and subscribe, and thank you all so much for checking out our videos. We definitely appreciate it. Tight lines.